kind of want to talk to you guys today about circles a little bit. Circles versus ellipses, astrology versus astronomy. There's the birds. So obviously astrology and astronomy are two different things. Astronomy is the study of the cosmos, right? The scientific analysis and study, observation, and history of the cosmos and anything outside in outer space. Astrology is a method of dissecting the human psychology and predicting future events using the stars. While they used to be one and the same, they are quite different. And I get a little, so I enjoy both. And one of the biggest mathematical differences or ways to see that they vary is that astrology focuses on our solar system, and it does so in circles. It assigns archetypes to the individual signs, houses, and planets, and then it talks about their interactions in relation to you as individuals and to us as people. Whereas astronomy is like the actual scientific studies of the material, the physics, the changes, the motions, the movements, being able to explore and reach out into outer space. And I have been, they say that astrology isn't scientifically proven, but personally I just believe that they're looking at the wrong sciences. If you want to say that it's astrologically proven, you're absolutely correct. It is not analogous to that. But what it is analogous to is psychology, anthropology, sociology, right? And Kepler, Johannes Kepler, did horoscopes for people. So are you going to question his intelligence? Are you going to just pass it off and say, well, it was a long time ago, Galileo didn't really know. No, you're not going to say that, or you're going to say that and you're going to be wrong, because they, as scientists, understood that it was a psychological attribution to these observations of archetypical behaviors, even if they didn't have those words to apply it until Jung came along. Now, there are differences, like you could say, well, the moon is in Aries, right? The new moon is in Aries, and then someone might say, no, it's not. It's actually in this, and in Vedic astrology, it's in that, and blah, 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 blah. And to a degree, that does matter, but in a way, it really doesn't, because it's not actually scientifically applicable to the placement of where they are in the sky. It's applicable to where they are in the placement of the houses, right? And these times of year are synonymous with these types of behaviors. In astronomy, you very rarely have a perfect circle. Earth doesn't really orbit in a perfect circle. It's elliptical, and they say that it's elliptical because of the pull of the larger planets like Jupiter and Saturn that kind of yank on this, right? And then we also have the field plane, right? The planetary field plane, the interplanetary space that goes like this, and all of the orbital paths are actually on angled ellipses. I'm trying to think of this in words that everyone will understand and yet won't insult your intelligence, because I want to make it clear to as many people as possible that people who follow these types of things aren't stupid. And there isn't exactly a analogous flow to their analysis. They're two different things. And one of the things that so I take these things apart, right? In my work, I measure them. I'm like, this is astrology. This is what's happening in the astrological planes right now. This is astronomy. This is what's happening right now. This is what we're seeing. And the two will very rarely coincide. But if you start to dig deeper back into histories, you will be able to find different cultures that were able to adapt them both together. And like the Egyptians, the Dogons, the Druids, right? The Hindi. Right? All of these different cultures were able to take these physical things and apply them to spiritual things, to psychological things, and created culture, religion, belief systems out of this. But what is really, really hard to determine in the real, because not only is Earth's orbit elliptical, right? The sun is also spinning at a barycenter. So the center of the sun's mass is actually moving around like this. It's kind of like jiggling around, and all the other planets are going around it in this kind of a way, and it's launching through space in the arm of a galaxy at unbelievable speeds. So no, that doesn't fit into a circle divided by 12 into 30-degree sections. It doesn't. It's not going to. But to say that people who celebrate holidays based on this wheel, 8-fold wheel, 12-fold wheel, 6-fold wheel, 4-fold wheel, to say that their observation of these holidays or their application of scientific observations applied analogously to psychology, right? To say if they're going through that whole process that they're in some way lacking intelligence because they didn't celebrate Litha on the 15th degree of Leo, they said whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's actually got Lugata side, and then they're like, that's not it. The solstices are on a specific day every year. No, they're not. The equinoxes are on a specific day every year. No, they're not. Yes, the cross-quarter days are not in the center. They're not right in the center of that wheel, because it's actually an analemma. It actually orbits like a figure 8 that kind of pinches in the middle and then comes out a little bit, right? And when the northern hemisphere is tilted at its furthest away and we are the closest to the sun, you get winter in the northern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere, you get summer. And then you go way, way out here and the earth tilts back like this, and the northern hemisphere is pointed at the sun and the southern hemisphere is pointed away. And guess what? It's summertime in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. And it does this. So what's the best way to translate a wave undulation into a circle, a unit circle? Trigonometry, sine wave functions. All of it is translatable if you take the time to translate it. And if you choose to focus on one specific area of it and dive in deep and dig as much out of it as possible, right? And then find ways that it correlates, not causes, correlates to other things that you find in the scientific sphere, in reality, in real world. And you apply a metaphor to that, or you see it in a light that brightens other areas of darkness, like, oh, I didn't know that about this. Oh, I didn't know that about this. You will find things that you never even knew you should have been looking for. And the way that we measure them all is through numbers. It's through lines. Point A, point B, draw a line. Now we have a measurement. Trace it around in a circle. Okay, well now it's an ellipse. So now you need 3 points and stretch it out. All right, well, what happens when that stretchy thing, now this thing that you're using as a marker is moving over here, and this thing that you're moving as a marker is moving over here, and this thing like this. Well, guess what? There are people who can do that math, and they use it to project things into outer space. They use it to gauge things, all right? And that's what they're doing. That's great. But if I want to know what, if I want to dig into myself psychologically, if I want to know where my place in the solar system is, where my place in this real world is, and be able to relate it on a scope that isn't just to my culture, that isn't just to, my family. If I want to relate it to a worldwide scope that is historical and digs down into mankind at its root, I'm going to look at astrology and I'm going to find out where I fit so that I know I'm human and I know I'm okay. All right? So one or the other, the sun takes 365.25 days to go around the sun. All right? That isn't the Gregorian calendar. That's where we are right now. And guess what? It moves because it's been pulling, it's been going, it's been different, it's cyclic, right? So 400,000 years ago, the orbit of the sun was actually smaller, which meant that the amount of days that it took for it to go around the sun in a year was actually less. All right? So none of that is consistent. None of that is anything predictable by a circle with these little circles inside of it. Absolutely not. But does that take away from this? No, it doesn't. It actually deciphers the two. This thing is doing this and this thing is doing that. And they're both doing something profound. Profound. And since they're both doing things and they're both related to shapes and they're both a kind of science, we use math, geometry, trigonometry, calculus. Newton figured some of this stuff out, right? Plato figured some of this stuff out. Young figured out some of this stuff. John Dee, all of these people figured out, but you're like, oh yeah, John Dee is an alchemist. Yeah, but he knew shit, and he knew that the queen was going to live a long life and be the greatest ruler of English history by looking at her chart while she was sitting in a jail cell. And she did not die, and she was the virgin queen who ruled England, Elizabeth I. Right? He knew that because he read her chart. No, I'm going to tell you again, it is not scientifically proven according to astrology. But try it. Look at sociology. Look at anthropology. And look at psychology, and you will see that it is scientifically verified, that it is profound, and that it has been used and accurate for millennia because of its strength. So please stop calling other people stupid or wondering about their intelligence when maybe you're the one missing the point. All right? Thanks, guys.